Okay, right, welcome back into my channel. I'm Simone, and in this tutorial I'll teach you how to draw realistic wrinkles. So I already made a step-by-step tutorial about wrinkles. Take a look if you didn't see yet, because it will definitely help you to understand this tutorial, so check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. And as I already said in the past tutorial, there are two kinds of wrinkles. First are skin depressions that must be considered as deep lines on the skin surface. And second are the skin folds. So to understand the differences between these two categories, you must imagine the skin as a flat line. Skin depressions are located below the skin surface, like if they were engraved in the skin. Instead, the skin folds are, as the name suggests, just folds of the skin structure and can be considered as an object that stands on the surface. So these two differences create two completely different anatomies of the light and two different drawing methods, so that's why I made two different tutorials. Okay, as always we start with the first step. Here's the texture. So I usually always start with a base tone, but I think that can be much easier to start with the texture. In this step, the texture will be like a track, like a guideline to follow to build up all your values. It's very hard to start immediately with the tonal values, and if you don't, it's very hard because if you don't have any idea of the structure that you're gonna build. So start with the darkest wrinkle texture using an HB graphite pencil. Here I'm using a Staedtler Mars black HB pencil. And remember that the wrinkles and the texture follow the form. So here I'm thinking about an old man's forehead. So there will be an horizontal and a little bit curved lines, especially on the side. And once you completed the structure, you can reinforce the darkest spots with a charcoal pencil. I think that the best way to improve your drawing skills is to observe a paper towel. The skin has folds, wrinkles, and depressions exactly as a towel because they share the same anatomy of the light. And the way the light source creates shadows, midtones, and highlights on your towel is the same as the skin surface. So drawing towels can be an interesting and useful exercise to improve your skills in drawing skins. By the way, in this video I'll talk about skin folds and how to draw hyperrealistic skin fold. Step 2. The base tone and the tonal values. Now you can start to build up your tonal values. As always, I use a brush or a Q-tip dip into a chalk deposit to build up my base tone and hold the tonal values. In this step, to create the correct tonal values, it's very important to understand where the light comes from and understand the forms and direction of the structure. I imagine that a light source is located above the head like sunlight, and I know that skin folds have rounded form, like small waves or little mountains. By the way, in this step I'll just focus on drawing the dark and the mid-tones of the skin folds. Step 3. Forms and directions. So in this stage you must understand where the light comes from, the structure and the forms of your wrinkles. About the form, you can see that the wrinkle structure is rounded like a cylinder, so you apply the same anatomy of the light of that structure. In simple words, the anatomy of the light or wrinkle can be split into three different parts. One is the deepest part, that is also the darkest area, the midtones area above, and the light on the upper part. Once you know exactly where the lights come from and the direction of the structure and texture, you can start to create a more realistic look by adding the proper values into your work. Here I'm using a brush dip into my charcoal deposit to create all the values and give the illusion of roundness. Step 4. Reinforce the wrinkles. So I'll reinforce the darkest areas. This step must be repeated as long as you don't reach the right dark values. Every time you blend, you make these darker values lighter, which means you need to bring back darker values to keep a good contrast. Step 5. Mid-tones. I'll make the mid-tones a little bit stronger with a more contrast. Here I'm using a brush deep into my charcoal deposit. Step 6. Random texture with a Q-tip. I'll make random textures by dipping my Q-tip into my charcoal deposit. Be sure that a Q-tip won't produce a too dark value on paper. Just clean it up on the support paper before using it. Step 7. Reinforce the dark shadows and values. You always have to keep contrast during your work, so just keep your darkest area always under control by adding more layers. Here I'm using a Staedtler Mass Lumograph Black HB. Step 8. Textures. Now I'll add some textures with a kneaded eraser. The texture is just made by little white spots that follow the roundness of the structure. Step 9. Dark spots. Like in my realistic skin tutorial, I'll add some dark spots next to the white texture. This will be the darkest side of these little skin depressions. To create this effect, I'm using a B mechanical pencil. Step 10. Blending with a Q-tip. The texture needs to be blended to reach a realistic look, so just use a Q-tip and blend everything softly. Step 11. The highlights. Add some highlights with a Turbo Mono Zero eraser. After this step, you can take down your values by blending the parts that should be a little bit darker. Alright, this is my drawing method on how to draw realistic wrinkles. I really hope this will be helpful. Thank you very much everyone, take care and see you soon.